This is going to be the official last video of my steam engine. I'm going to explain everything from one end to the other. Let's start here. We have our fuel tank, which feeds into our valve, control valve. All of that is rescued off of a barbecue. It feeds down into our burner. I've drilled the jet on the intake, the intake for the burner, just to get a little bit more fuel through. And that feeds up into our water tank. Just a quick note here. I will be putting a handle on this end to match the wheels so it acts like a dolly, but I haven't done that yet. These tanks are both supported by some angle iron and a band that goes around. As you can see, it's been bolted over here. This one's bolted on this side. And I can take these off and lift the tanks right out. Except for the engine. The engine's got 4 bolts, but I'll get to that in a sec. Okay? Now, we come up here. We have a dealcoholized beer case acting as a heat shield. I'm going to replace that with an actual piece of steel. But if you look inside there, I don't know how you can see. Take it over here. You can see it just goes into a 3/4 inch fitting up into my pipe. You can see at the moment we're sitting at 90 psi, and I'll prove that to you. There you go. That was loud. There's no need for such a long piece right here. It was just the only piece of pipe that I had. From there we go into our pressure gauge, which is actually approaching sort of a dangerous level at the moment. Not really dangerous, but awkward. And then we have our quick release into a flexible stainless steel line. This guy right here, actually it might go off in a second, is an automatic pressure valve and a safety release. Into the other end over here we have the other end of that hose, obviously, to a valve, which goes into the engine. Everything's sitting on an old bed frame. And I've put these up. I'm going to actually put a piece of steel here to support that a little bit better. This is a very dangerous machine, okay? You've got propane, you've got flames, you've got high pressure steam, and of course you've got the rotation of the engine. All things that could easily injure you, possibly kill you. So you have to be very careful when doing this. I'm not wearing eye protection at the moment. I should be wearing at least this leather guy over here, but it's too fucking hot. I can't do it. But keep that in mind if you're going to attempt something along these lines. Be extremely careful. Right now, if any part of this decides that it doesn't want to maintain pressure, I'm a dead man. I'm a goner. If this flex line here decides that it doesn't want to maintain pressure anymore and it ruptures, it'll slice my leg like I'm fucking paper. The tank, I've seen propane tanks go off. Not a pretty sight. Most likely what'll happen is this seam here will rupture and send a nice sharp piece of steel through my leg. Not so concerned with the engine. The engine is pressure tested, of course, because it's a fuel engine. But but there is always the possibility that something fails. So, back to the video. Okay, so what I've done, you saw me take apart the engine. One thing I didn't show, which I did recently, was take out this little plug right here. That plug is actually the drain plug for the oil. There's actually one on either side. I just took the one out. The reason for that is because I was finding that the steam was actually going below the piston, which is a very normal thing in this kind of engine. For normally it would be the fuel, but in this case it was the steam that was going through and then pooling, and it was causing the piston to run more slowly. So I've taken that out, and then what it does is it just allows all that water and stuff to go out, and there's no longer that hydrolock, we'll call it. But I believe that's about it. Oh, something I noticed with this, you have to have the tank essentially full for it to run properly. I started with about 1 liter of water in there, and it did run, but it didn't maintain pressure as it was running, so it would only run for about a minute or so. And it would slowly grind down and down and down until it was done. Put in, I believe it was 4 liters of water last time. And it ran for a little bit longer, a little bit better. This time I filled the tank up. 4 liters of water is like down here, basically. I filled the tank up to about there. Yeah. 4 liters of water is basically about there, okay? This time I filled the tank up to about there. And if I let the pressure run up to about 90 psi, I can basically maintain this thing indefinitely. And I find too that it actually, the pressure drops more slowly if I'm running faster. And I think that's because there's always a constant pressure in. And as that piston is coming up and exhausting the steam that's in the line is then going out, okay? So if it's running faster, it means that valve is open for a smaller amount of time, and less steam is allowed to come straight out of the line and then through and then out of the engine. But I'll leave you with the engine running. It's very simple. All I've done is put this mark top dead center. Whoops. I've put this mark at top dead center. All I have to do is turn that guy, open the valve, and it should just continue all the way around. Or not. Let's try it a little bit lower.